Okay, for this video, we'll be going through the FTE 2023 paper 1 MCQ, which you'll be sitting for tomorrow. Okay. So first question, which pair consists of both scalar and vector quantities? So for scalar, it is actually with magnitude only. Vector, it is magnitude plus direction. Okay. So length is scalar, energy is also scalar, mass is scalar, weight is vector, velocity is vector, acceleration is vector, force is vector, and displacement is vector. So the correct answer will be B. That means you have to actually make a list of scalar quantities and vector quantities. Okay, so just to memorize to handle this kind of question. Now, to measure the thickness of a $1 coin, which is very thin, right, which instrument should be used to obtain a reading that is accurate and most precise? So, of course, most precise will be your digital micrometer screw gauge. Okay, so maybe we talk about the precision for each instrument. For meter rule, is actually 0.1 cm or 0.001 meters. Okay, they are the same thing, or 1 mm. For measuring tape, it's the same thing. For digital calipers, will be 0.01 cm. So if you were to compare, it's actually more precise than the meter rule. That means it can measure one more dp than the meter rule. So if you convert, it will be 0.0001 meter or 0.1 mm. Okay, now digital micrometer screw gauge is actually the most precise. It can actually measure up to 0.001 cm or 0.00001 meters or 0.01 mm. Okay, so it's actually the most precise. That makes it the answer. Now, an object falls through vacuum. So in vacuum, there's no air resistance. Okay, there's no air resistance. Now, which rho describes the velocity and the acceleration of the object? So it is actually falling, and if it's only falling in vacuum, that means the only force that's acting on it is weight, right? There's no air resistance. No air resistance, yeah? Therefore, the acceleration is going to be constant. So if I have constant acceleration, that means my velocity is going to increase. So answer is A. Okay, so this is actually drawing the free body diagram. From there, you will know what are the forces acting on the body. And then, if there is resultant force, so now the F net is actually W, then there will be an acceleration, right? Because according to Newton's second law. Okay, question 4, which distance time graph? So distance time graph, you must know that the gradient represents speed. Gradient represents speed. For velocity time graph, the gradient represents acceleration, and the area under the graph represents the distance traveled. So for VT graph, there are actually two things that are important. Okay, so they want us to find the graph that shows object undergoing increasing speed. That means it is showing increasing gradient, right? Increasing gradient. So for B, it is out because this is constant gradient. This is also constant gradient because it's a straight line and it's negative gradient, negative constant. This is positive constant. Now, in order to be increasing gradient, it must be from gentle to steep. Okay, so this is gentle to steep, so answer will be D. Okay, answer for question 4 is D. Now, question 5, a 10 kg block, this is the mass, is brought from Earth to the surface of another planet. So they are going to have different gravitational field strength. So this planet is actually having a lower gravitational field strength of 3.8 Newton per kg. Now, what happens to the mass, density, and weight? Now, the mass will remain unchanged because mass is the amount of substance or metal in a body. It does not change, right? So how about density? Density is mass over volume. And because the volume won't change, the mass doesn't change, the density is also going to remain unchanged. Now the weight is using this formula, W equals to mg. And because the gravitational field strength decreases from 10 to 3.8, so the G decreases, the mass remains the same. Therefore, the weight will decrease. So answer is C. Okay, a man with an open parachute is falling to earth at constant speed. Constant speed means no acceleration. That means no F net. Okay, now the following forces are acting. The upward force of the parachute on man, that means this is parachute. Okay, and this parachute is exerting a force on the man. That means the man is exerting a force on, downward force on the parachute. Okay, because I think we are doing action reaction pair, right? Remember, A on B, it must be B on A. Okay, equal and opposite on opposite bodies. Now Q is the upward force of the man on earth. That means man is pulling the earth up. R is the downward force of the earth on parachute. That means earth on parachute. And S is the downward force of the man on the parachute. So remember, they must act on mutually opposite body. So man on earth and earth on man. Is there anything? No. Parachute on man, man on parachute. And it is upwards and downwards. So parachute on man, P on M, M on P. And the force direction is opposite. So it must be P and S. So answer is B. Okay, so actually this kind of question, if you know the trick behind it, it is actually to identify who is A and who is B. And they must act like A on B, B on A. Alright. Now question 7, emergency generator supplies 432,000,000 joules. This is actually the energy electrically by electric current in 24 hours. So this is the time, right? So what's the average power output? So for this, I actually need to convert it to SI unit, which is seconds. Okay, so this is joules, right? So this is SI unit. Then this is energy, so everything must be in SI unit. That's why my time, I must change it to seconds. Okay, so what's the average power output? Power equals to energy over time, right? So I will take this energy 432,000,000 over 24 times 10, 60 times 60. So the answer for this will be A, 5 kilowatts. Do we have this? Let me check. Okay, I get 5,000 watts, which is actually 5 kilowatts. Okay, so this is question 7. So question 8, a force F is applied to an L-shaped metal rod hinge. Hinge means pivot. So if it's pivot, then you must think of moments. Okay, which one shows F? Now F is all the same, producing the greatest turning effect. Now that means they are asking for the greatest moment. Moment equals to force times perpendicular distance. Now if all the force are the same, and if I want maximum moment, that means I must get maximum perpendicular distance. So for this, you actually have to draw the line of action of each force. So for F, for A, F,